Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Vibe Tuesday Talks. My name is Yanelise Jones, and today I am here with Miss Kaylee Caldwell. She is a graduated senior from Warwick High School. Kaylee, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hey. As you know, said I graduated from Warwick this year. I did the IB program at Warwick. I've done it for all 4 years. Um, I loved it. It was awesome. I was also an intern for Miss Adams in youth development. I was interning and helping with events, planning things, helping keep things organized over in youth development, and that was a lot of fun as well. I've done that for 2 years. I was on a lot of sports teams in high school. I was on field hockey, swim, and soccer for all 4 years on JV and varsity. And I also did powerlifting my junior and senior year of high school. Um, I was involved in a lot. I did Girl Up as well, SCA, a few years. I kept myself pretty busy in high school, but it was a lot of fun.
It sounds like you had a busy schedule. So, to start off, what were your expectations going into this past school year or 2020 alone?
It's hard to look back on your expectations um, after everything's already over and happened. I was definitely looking into my senior year as if I wanted to live I wanted to live the best year I could. I wanted to have a great senior year. I wanted to make it memorable. I wanted it to be like a movie essentially, but I also know that's not quite possible. We're not living in a movie, but it kind of feels like it right now. It's definitely really memorable. I don't think anyone's going to forget what's happening in 2020, but I definitely just wanted to live my life to the fullest, make everything on a positive note, do what I could to make people smile. And I think that's what my goal was for my senior year, and even going into 2020 after half my senior year had gone by.
So, being that senior year is the most important year, it seems like it's the most important year for a lot of students. They look forward to it. It's the last year from every other year that they've been in school. Did you have any specific plans, and did you feel like you accomplished them?
I think talking about what my expectations were, I think they were also kind of my plans, just to have everything on a positive note and kind of do what I could. I wanted to go all out. That's what I tried to do during homecoming week. I wanted to go all out. I didn't want to regret not dressing up a day or not doing something at a soccer game. I wanted to do everything I could to make sure that I put my best self out there. And I wanted to also be a leader. I wanted the kids or the underclassmen below me to know that it's cool to dress up for Spirit Week. It's cool to lead. It's cool to join clubs. I wanted people to know that, do what makes you happy. Do what you think is going to be fun. And I think I tried to do that the best I could.
I definitely noticed a lot from all the high schools in Newport News, from social media, a lot of people being more engaged in school spirit and pep rallies and dressing up. So that was nice to see. So we stopped going to school physically and started virtually only a few months before school let out. What was it like, and how did you feel when you first found out that school was going to be online for the remainder of the year?
It was definitely one of those days that I will never forget. I know March 13th is going to be ingrained in my mind. Not only because it was also Friday the 13th, which is really weird, but also just because we let out of school that day. And everyone thought we were going to go on a 3-week spring break. We were going to be out for a few weeks. It was going to be fun. And then all of a sudden we weren't going back. And I know the day that I found out about us not going back, I was ready to listen to the governor speak. We were making chicken nuggets. I was acting like everything was normal, and then all of a sudden we found out we weren't going back. And it was a shock because I didn't think that was going to happen. I didn't think that it right at that moment, I didn't think, oh, we're not going back to school. I thought maybe he was going to say something oh, we're going to be out for another 2 weeks. But I was in shock, and I cried that day. A lot of emotions came out that day. I was just so surprised. And I think all of my friends were, I think everyone was. We weren't expecting that, especially when we were also monitoring what happened with other states and trying to think what's going to happen with Virginia, and then we just decided not to go back. So it was hard. Online school was a challenge. wasn't what I was going to expect online school was going to feel like. I thought it was going to be a lot easier, but I think with everything that was going on top of doing online school, it just made it a lot harder.
Being that we were out of school, seniors unfortunately missed out on two of what are known to be the biggest things, the memories that you make your senior year, prom and graduation. So even though there was no prom, I still saw that you and your friends were able to kind of shed some light on the situation and dress up and still take pictures. So if you mind, can you tell me about that? Like, how did that make you feel? And were you able to kind of fill the void of not having a prom?
I don't know if we could have filled the void, because I think Corona has like made a void that we just won't be able to fill, but we're almost like recreating, or not even recreating, we're creating new memories. We're creating new situations for us to happen. I fortunately got to dress up 3 times for prom with 3 different groups of people, and I know not many people can say that they dressed up 3 times for prom in 3 different outfits or 3 different dresses. And so it was a lot of fun. We did different activities each time. There were different people because we knew we couldn't all come together, otherwise it would be kind of unsafe, and we wanted to still make sure we were being safe with everything. We made jokes about it. We wore our masks for a few pictures, We tried to put the best positive light we could on it. We ate pizza for some of them. We had bonfires. We watched movies. We just created our own memories, and I think that's what really brought us together. It wasn't regular prom wouldn't have been the same. We wouldn't have been bonding the same. We wouldn't have been as grateful that we could at least get together. So it was definitely different, but also like I'll remember those nights at prom.
Glad to see that you and your friends were able to kind of make light of the situation and were able to connect and bond more. About graduation though, how did you feel about how it was set up? Do you feel like it could have been done differently, or were you satisfied with how it was?
Before actually graduating, I was upset about it because I'd seen the past 2 years' graduations, and I knew what to expect. I knew what was coming. So when that wasn't coming, I think everyone got a little upset about it. I was a part of the planning behind it, so it was nice that I could kind of see what was going on behind the scenes, and I had a different perspective. But I was still really upset about it because, you watch everyone graduate before you, and when you don't get that same experience, it's kind of heartbreaking. But at the same time, Newport News, they did the best they could, because I don't know if I would have been able to do what they could. Their hands were tied behind their back. They could have easily said, oh, we're going to do a virtual graduation. And just we're going to have our names pop up on a slideshow on your TV. But they wanted us to be in person, and they really listened to their students. And I was so grateful and fortunate for them to have the surveys that went out, to have this 2020 task force that was answering questions for them and giving them feedback, so they weren't doing this all alone. And I loved the graduation they put on. At first, I was really nervous, especially even that day pulling in to Todd Stadium. I was so nervous. I was like, how is this gonna go? And it turned out so much better than I thought. My parents loved it. They had a front row seat to me graduating, whereas if they were in the Coliseum, they would have been really far away and looking at me on a screen. But they were front row, they were right there. And it was nice because I got to walk with the superintendent. I don't think anyone else can say that. He held an umbrella for me as it poured down rain. That was nice. He's in the background of some of my pictures holding an umbrella for me. And it'll be memorable for me because it poured down for 10 minutes, unlike other people. So I know when I get that picture back, it's probably going to be a hot mess, and the wind's blowing and it's raining. But it's also going to be something to laugh at, and you just kind of got to look at the positive of it. And I had a good time with it, and I was really impressed with what happened that day.
That's good. I was really proud of Newport News in general, just how they handled the situation. Even as far as graduation, they knew how important that was to seniors, and so they still kind of was able to recreate that by having a little stage set up, and you were able to actually walk across and get your diploma. So I was really proud about that. Now that you've graduated, how do you feel?
It's weird. It is so weird because I'm so used to every year after school getting my books, reading my books, for summer assignments and doing this and that, and it's weird not having to do that. I mean, I still have some college stuff I have to do. We have modules we have to do and orientations because they're over Zoom, but it's not the same type of thing going into high school and having to like automatically start learning. Like this is just this weird transition. It's not a bad transition, it's just different and it's exciting. But it feels good to have graduated and closed that door behind me and saying hello to something new. But I guess the best way I can describe it is just it's weird because it's just a transition that is new for everyone, and it's even more new because we're having to do everything virtually rather than actually being in person for orientations and stuff.
Graduating is a very big accomplishment. What are your plans now that you've graduated?
I'll be at VCU in the fall. Go Rams.
Congrats!
Thank you. I'm really excited. Richmond has so many opportunities, and I'm so happy that I'll be there in the fall. I'm very fortunate that we're even going. They've come out with rules and regulations for us to be on campus, so that's really nice. I'm also fortunate enough to have only like 2 of my classes online. They're doing like, if your class is over 50 people or it's over a certain amount, it's online, and most of my classes are small, I guess, so I do have a lot of in-person class time. It's going to look a lot different than it has in years past, but I'm at least going to be on campus and immersed with other students, so I'm really excited for that.
That's good. It'll be interesting starting off your freshman year, not like a normal college freshman would.
Yeah.
But while we're on this positive note, I want to take a second to talk about the good things that you've experienced this past year or out of your entire high school career. What were some highlights or some key events?
I think senior year, obviously, like as a whole, not just because of what happened at the end of our senior year, but having those senior nights for sports and having those last were definitely really memorable. I had 2 senior nights. I had one for field hockey and one for swimming, and it was emotional, but at the same time everyone was having a good time, and it was really good to be there with my team. Homecoming week my senior year was also really fun because we were kind of like the big dogs around, and we were all the most spirited, and we went all out for everything. So it was nice to finally have our moment to like embrace being the most spirited, I guess. Another big accomplishment and big memory is the Live Well Expo, because I had been planning for that and worked on it like most of my senior year, and I was fortunate enough to be able to even do it because a week later we were out of school. So I'm glad we had it when we did and didn't push it back any farther, because I would have done all that hard work and then not had the expo. And I was really proud of what had happened, and I felt really accomplished to have this big event go so well at Warwick this year.
So 2020 did have a lot of good things in it as well. Coronavirus certainly had added to the list of the negative things about 2020. How have you and your family or people in your community been holding up during this time since Corona came?
It's definitely hard. It wasn't what I was like expecting. Even after weeks after being quarantined, it still was really weird and everything was uncertain. Online school was not for me. I found that out really quickly. A lot of my friends, they either liked it or they didn't. There was some in between, but not really. So I guess a positive was that we kind of figured out our learning styles. I know that I would really prefer to be in class and in person, hands-on, and I don't like learning or studying in my room. I'm always that person that's either in the library at or a Starbucks or somewhere learning. So it was different learning from a desk in my room. And I know it was hard for my family because we never really spent like so much time together. It was always, we were busy, we were on the go. I had sports, my brother had sports, but at the same time, it was nice that we had so much time together, because if we hadn't, I would have been on the go and I would have been doing this. But because of being quarantined, we got to spend a lot of time before I leave for college. So we got to have movie nights, we got to be here, we got to eat dinner at the table together. So it was really nice to have those bonding moments with my family before I leave. And we have, of course, had to be careful and had to be safe visiting friends. So like we would sit out in my yard with my friends and we'd all have our own blankets and we'd go watch the sunset or something down my street and we'd all be on separate blankets, but we at least had those bonding moments also with my friends where we could talk and talk about also how hard it was being in quarantine. So it was nice to have a let out where I could talk about how I was feeling, how they were feeling the same thing. We all had mixed emotions about everything. But I think it ended up there were positive and negatives. So, I mean, there's always positive and negatives to any situation, but you kind of just have to choose to look at the positives.
Yeah, I know it was great to see how, like, even though we are all stuck inside, like you said, it created a space where families can bond together more. And you do have that time to share with each other, before you leave, or for other people before they have to go to work or anything else planned. We have made it to our last question for today. So, being that things were done a little bit differently this year and everything is just kind of modified, do you have any advice for any rising seniors or underclassmen, or just any advice in general that you'd like to give to anybody that might be losing hope?
I'm sure you've heard this a lot, and I know I've said it a lot to anyone who's asked, but just don't take things for granted, because things come and go so fast. You don't really have time to like stop and just appreciate things. And I guess with like Corona and everything, we got to put everything on hold, and I got to appreciate everything that it happened. But I also realized that I took some things for granted. The last time I saw my teachers, I never got to give them a proper goodbye, and which is really sad to think about, but it's true. I never really got to say goodbye to them in person, and just to appreciate things a lot more. You can slow down. Life gets so fast, but you need to slow it down sometimes and just take a look around you. Look at the positives. If you're losing hope, just try to think of the positives. If you can put a smile on someone else's face, you can put a smile on your own face. It's just looking at the positives is usually what I do, and I tend to look at it a lot. I'm always smiling because that's what I try to do. But slowing things down, looking at the positives, not taking anything for granted, those would definitely that's what I've learned from my senior year and my time in high school.
That's great advice, really. I know there's a lot of people out there, young people, and maybe even some adults as well, who are really struggling during this time and they're losing hope. So it's good that you're able to come through with that advice that they can stay positive. I want to thank you for making time to speak with me for this interview, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in for the Vibe Tuesday Talk. I wish you the best of luck at VCU.
Thank you.